I think I'm not suggesting that nobody has thought about what we're going to do with Digital Britain. I'm suggesting they're probably thinking about it in the same way they've thought about it before, even the current group of people, because we get all enamoured of technology. We get enamoured of the idea that it's all going to change immediately overnight, and that's the right way of approaching this thing. And I'm just not sure it's ever been like that, and it ever will be like that. In fact, it sort of loops round to the question about television. There's a great sort of wave of people in the new technology business who are delighted to describe television as dead. Television not dead, it's just about to learn what it's really uniquely brilliant at, which is bringing large groups of people together, all at the same time, inspiring them, telling stories to them you can't tell in any other way. And there are a load of other things television had to do that the new technology for hadn't come along yet, in the same way that cinema was the least worst way of getting the news until television arrived. It's just about to become really very powerful indeed in that area. Unfortunately, it means spreading your money everywhere across multiple channels is getting commercially rather difficult. But it does mean, I'm going to go back to my original remarks, it means if we're spending public money on television or in any form of medium, we've got to know what it's for. And we've got to know what it's delivering. And then we've got to avoid going back down the mistakes of believing that just funneling it down a new technology will make it different. Because it's not just a new technology, it's a new way of learning, a new way of interacting. And it's focused on the individual, not primarily the institution. That's why policymakers like getting into the technology, because you can measure it. It feels like something you bought before. Getting down to the individual is very, very hard, unless you're Obama, because he got his money from each individual. He had a one-to-one relationship with each of those individuals, so they know about technology that mediates one-to-one relationships, because it was the way they raised their money, and that focused their minds really, really deeply. So it's the right technology in the right way, and let's learn some lessons from the past.
Yeah. Can I ask you, the older person seeking, Anthony, the older person seeking education, the question over there, you nodded as it was being asked and said you would answer it.
Well, my job every day is I get up in the morning and say, and adults, to governments that sometimes for a bit listen. But if you look at the last 10 years, you've seen a kind of enormous pendulum swing. Sometimes we believe in widening participation and engagement of everybody in opportunities to learn, and then we panic about globalization and we think everything should be utilitarian and focused on short-term, narrow vocational outcomes. And you clearly need both. And you clearly need opportunities for older people to learn. I mean, you said yourself about use it and lose it. Our inquiries research throws up really powerful evidence about how learning enables you to carry on being an active citizen much longer. If you develop Alzheimer's, you go round it, because your neural networks are more active, and so there's a shorter period at the end of it. Enormously powerful health investment reasons for making learning available in neighbourhoods, for convivial engagement for people. And I was very glad of your question, because there's a danger of seeing technology as a replacement for the intimate and the privately, modestly, locally negotiated. And of course what we want is both those things interacting with one another. People's War, brilliant TV series, played out in the dialogues at every street corner. That's how we should be developing our technologies. But to do it, you need an infrastructure, modest, doesn't cost hardly anything. I think our figures suggest it's less than 1% of total global public expenditure is spent on people learning things they want to learn. That can't be right.
Who would like to talk about the state of...
we used to have it good when David was there, so we could bring him back.
David Putnam, would you like to take up this business about the programming today, educational programming today, as well as what you're going to say?
No. I'd like to pick up Jeff's point and link it to another point that was made about broadband. I do quite a lot of work in Singapore, and Alan mentioned Singapore. Right now, in Singapore, the authorities, the government, is putting in a bandwidth of 2 gigabits. 2 gigabits. We are possibly contemplating 5 megabits, with some rather adventurous people talking about 10 megabits. Now, Anthony tells me the difference between 2 gigabits and 5 megabits is a factor of 400. Now, I want to make several points. Either they are stark staring mad, or we are. We can't possibly both be right. Okay? They are betting that if you put the bandwidth in there, the human beings are inventive enough to find ways of using it and making it work and monetizing it and making it part of their economy. They are actually backing their bandwidth as being the driver of their economies. Then I talk to, as it were, government, and I'm told that these numbers are unaffordable. I put it to you, for the money that RBS wrote off on Monday, we could have 2 gigabits. And that's why I'm angry, because we have squandered possibly the greatest opportunity of our generation to have the resources available to equip ourselves to properly compete in the 21st century. Jeff makes the point about what lessons have I learned, and I'd be interested in what the echo is. I've learned one lesson, having made myself unpopular at the Daily Mail, I might as well make myself doubly unpopular. Jeff, I have been very, very, very disappointed by the academic community, who are excellent at working with projects and pilots, all of which attract research grants, but go into a complete funk when you ask to take those projects and pilots to scale. They lose interest, they find it all too difficult, and they're not prepared to come up with the compromises that take a good idea to scale. I come from a world, movie industry, it's all about compromise. You've got a great idea, you want to get it made, and you go through the mill and you come up with the best result you can at the end of it. I'm afraid the academic world has let me and many others down terribly in bringing great ideas to scale.